The salty breeze carried the scent of blooming jasmine and the distant cries of seagulls as it swept through the quaint streets of Port Blossom, a coastal town nestled along the rugged California coastline, renowned for its vibrant art scene and affluent residents, exuding an air of tranquility and charm, a haven for those seeking respite from the clamor of city life. Among its most celebrated inhabitants was Vivian Blackwood, a renowned painter whose canvases captured the raw beauty of the ocean and the vibrant hues of the coastal landscape. Her life, viewed from the outside, seemed a picture of perfection. A loving family, a successful career, and a stunning seaside mansion that served as both her home and artistic sanctuary. Yet, beneath the veneer of idyllic perfection, a current of tension and unspoken secrets simmered, threatening to shatter the carefully constructed facade. Vivian's mansion, perched atop a cliff overlooking the Pacific, was a testament to her success and refined taste. Sunlight streaming through expansive windows, illuminating the spacious rooms, adorned with exquisite artwork and lavish furnishings. Her art studio, a haven of creativity, occupied the entire top floor, offering panoramic views of the endless ocean expanse. It was here that Vivian poured her soul onto canvas, transforming emotions and experiences into vibrant masterpieces that captivated collectors and critics alike. However, the tranquility of her artistic haven was often disrupted by the strained relationship she shared with her 17-year-old daughter, Lily. A rebellious and independent spirit who chafed under her mother's controlling nature and the shadow of her fame. She resented the constant comparisons to her mother's artistic talent and the pressure to follow in her footsteps, their relationship a volatile mix of love and resentment, punctuated by frequent arguments that echoed through the opulent halls of the mansion. "Why can't you just be proud of me for who I am, not who you want me to be?" Lily had shouted during one particularly heated exchange, her voice trembling with frustration. "I'm not you, and I don't want to be." Vivian, her face etched with disappointment, had retorted, "I only want what's best for you, Lily. You have a gift, a talent that shouldn't be wasted." The chasm between mother and daughter seemed insurmountable, a constant source of tension that cast a shadow over their otherwise privileged lives. Completing the family portrait was Arthur Blackwood, Vivian's husband and a successful businessman, possessing an undeniable charm and charisma that captivated everyone he met. However, beneath his polished exterior lay a troubled soul, grappling with a gambling addiction and mounting debts. Whispers of infidelity following him like a persistent shadow, hinting at a darkness that lurked beneath his carefully cultivated persona. A gasp escaped the housekeeper's lips as she stumbled upon the lifeless form of Vivian Blackwood, sprawled amidst a chaotic symphony of paintbrushes and canvases in her sun-drenched studio. A half-empty glass of crimson wine rested precariously on the easel beside her, its contents staining the pristine white floor like a macabre work of art. The air hung heavy with the scent of turpentine and the lingering aroma of Vivian's favorite Cabernet Sauvignon, now tainted with the bitter tang of tragedy. Arthur Blackwood, upon receiving the news, appeared devastated, his face contorted in a mask of grief as he clutched at his chest, murmuring about a sudden and inexplicable loss. Lily, her eyes wide with shock and a flicker of something unreadable in their depths, remained eerily silent, her usual rebellious spirit seemingly extinguished by the weight of the tragedy. The arrival of the police shattered the stunned silence, their presence transforming the opulent mansion into a crime scene. The initial investigation painted a grim picture. Vivian Blackwood, the celebrated artist, had been silenced, her vibrant life extinguished by an unseen hand. As the investigation unfolded, a cast of characters emerged from the shadows, each with their own secrets and potential motives. Arthur Blackwood, the grieving husband, stood to inherit a vast fortune upon Vivian's death, a motive as old as time itself. He claimed to have been at a business meeting at the time of Vivian's death, his alibi seemingly airtight. However, Detective Inspector Finch, a seasoned investigator with a keen eye for detail, noticed a tremor in Arthur's voice and a subtle shift in his gaze that hinted at something more sinister lurking beneath the surface. Lily Blackwood, the rebellious daughter, harbored a deep resentment towards her mother, their strained relationship a breeding ground for animosity. She claimed to have been in her room, listening to music and ignoring the world, when her mother met her untimely end. Yet Finch couldn't shake the feeling that Lily was holding something back, her grief tinged with a hint of defiance that suggested a hidden truth. Elias Thorne, the enigmatic gardener, possessed an encyclopedic knowledge of plants, including their hidden dangers. His unrequited love for Vivian had festered into a dark obsession, fueling a dangerous cocktail of jealousy and resentment. He claimed to have been tending the gardens, his hands stained with soil and his alibi seemingly solid. However, Finch couldn't ignore the glint of possessiveness in Elias's eyes when he spoke of Vivian, a possessiveness that hinted at a darker side to his nature. Completing the cast of suspects was Clara Belrose, a fellow artist and Vivian's longtime rival. Their relationship was a complex tapestry of friendship and envy, woven with threads of professional competition and simmering resentment. Clara claimed to have been at her own studio, working on a new masterpiece when Vivian breathed her last. Yet Finch couldn't dismiss the subtle satisfaction that flickered in Clara's eyes when she spoke of Vivian's demise, a satisfaction that suggested a long-held grudge finally appeased. Detective Inspector Alistair Finch, a man whose sharp mind was as honed as his tailored suits, arrived in Port Blossom with the quiet determination of a seasoned hunter stalking his prey. His reputation preceded him, a meticulous investigator with an uncanny ability to unravel the most intricate of mysteries. As he stepped into the opulent Blackwood mansion, his gaze swept across the scene, absorbing every detail with the precision of a camera lens. The lingering scent of turpentine and wine, the scattered paintbrushes, the half-empty glass on the easel, each element whispered a silent story, waiting to be deciphered. Finch began his investigation by interviewing the first responders, meticulously piecing together the timeline of events leading up to Vivian's death. He listened intently to their accounts, his sharp eyes missing nothing, his mind already weaving a tapestry of possibilities. His next task was to interview the two individuals closest to Vivian, her husband Arthur and her daughter Lily. Arthur, still reeling from the shock of his wife's sudden demise, recounted his alibi with a practiced ease, his voice laced with a carefully controlled grief. Yet, Finch noticed the subtle tremor in his hands and the fleeting moments of hesitation in his narrative, like cracks in a carefully constructed facade. Lily, her youthful face pale, and her eyes betraying a mixture of shock and defiance, offered a fragmented account of her whereabouts, her story punctuated by pregnant silences and evasive glances. Finch sensed that Lily was holding back, her grief intertwined with a complex web of emotions that hinted at a deeper truth. As Finch delved deeper into their stories, inconsistencies began to emerge, like threads unraveling from a meticulously woven tapestry. Arthur's alibi, while seemingly solid, lacked concrete evidence. Lily's account of her evening was vague and lacked corroboration. Finch's intuition, honed by years of experience, whispered that the idyllic facade of the Blackwood family concealed a dark undercurrent of secrets and lies. The seemingly perfect family portrait was beginning to crack, revealing a hidden darkness that threatened to consume everything in its path. Finch, with his unwavering determination and sharp intellect, was ready to peel back the layers of deception and expose the truth, no matter how unsettling it might be. Finch's investigation into Arthur Blackwood's financial affairs revealed a tangled web of deceit and desperation. Bank statements and credit card records painted a grim picture of mounting gambling debts and a dwindling fortune. The pressure to maintain his lavish lifestyle, coupled with the looming threat of financial ruin, provided a compelling motive for Arthur to eliminate his wealthy wife and inherit her estate. As Finch delved deeper, he unearthed a secret that cast a darker shadow over Arthur's already tarnished image. An illicit affair with a local woman named Isabella Rossi. Isabella, a sultry beauty, with a penchant for expensive tastes and a manipulative charm, had become entangled in Arthur's web of deceit, her presence adding fuel to the fire of his desperation. Their relationship, fueled by passion and fueled by Arthur's promises of a life free from financial constraints, provided a potent motive for Vivian's demise. When confronted with the evidence of his affair and mounting debts, Arthur vehemently denied any involvement in Vivian's death. He painted himself as a victim of circumstance, a loving husband caught in a web of unfortunate events. However, Finch, unmoved by Arthur's feigned innocence, saw through his carefully constructed facade, recognizing the desperation of a man teetering on the brink of ruin. Finch's investigation then turned to Lily Blackwood, whose rebellious spirit and strained relationship with her mother had already piqued his interest. Interviews with Lily's close friends revealed whispers of a forbidden romance, a clandestine affair between Lily and her stepfather, Arthur. The rumors, initially dismissed as mere gossip, gained credibility as Finch uncovered a series of secret messages exchanged between the two, their words dripping with a forbidden passion that defied the boundaries of familial relationships. Hidden rendezvous in secluded corners of the mansion and whispered conversations in the dead of night painted a disturbing picture of a love that dared not speak its name. When confronted with the evidence, Lily initially denied the accusations, her youthful face flushed with shame and defiance. However, as Finch presented irrefutable proof of their illicit affair, Lily's carefully constructed defenses crumbled. Tears streamed down her face as she confessed to the forbidden love that had consumed her, a love that had blinded her to the consequences of her actions. Lily's confession revealed a heart torn between conflicting emotions, a desperate yearning for affection and acceptance from a father figure who had betrayed her trust, and a deep-seated resentment towards a mother who she felt had never truly understood her. The weight of her betrayal and the guilt of her mother's death threatened to crush her fragile spirit, leaving her lost in a labyrinth of despair and self-recrimination. Finch's investigation then turned to Elias Thorne, the enigmatic gardener who tended the Blackwood estate with a quiet devotion. A background check revealed Elias's extensive knowledge of botany, a passion that bordered on obsession. His expertise in the world of flora, particularly in the realm of poisonous plants, raised a red flag in Finch's mind. A search of Elias's modest cottage unearthed a trove of disturbing evidence, a collection of love letters penned to Vivian, their words laced with a desperate longing that bordered on obsession. Alongside the letters, Finch discovered a small box containing a lock of Vivian's hair and a stolen silk scarf, tangible proof of Elias's unhealthy infatuation. Further investigation revealed that Elias had access to a rare and deadly flower known as the angel's trumpet, its delicate white petals concealing a potent neurotoxin capable of inducing paralysis and death. The angel's trumpet, with its alluring beauty and deadly potential, became a central piece in the puzzle of Vivian's murder, its presence casting a sinister shadow over Elias Thorne. Clara Belrose, Vivian's longtime rival and friend, also fell under Finch's scrutiny. Interviews with Clara revealed a deep-seated jealousy towards Vivian's success and a simmering resentment that had festered for years. Finch discovered that Clara had been researching the angel's trumpet, her interest in the poisonous flower coinciding with Vivian's demise. A search of Clara's studio revealed a hidden compartment containing a vial of the flower's potent extract, a chilling testament to her willingness to cross the line from envy to malice. Finch also discovered that Clara had access to Vivian's studio on the night of her death, her presence captured on the mansion's security cameras. The footage showed Clara entering the studio late at night, her movements furtive, and her expression betraying a mixture of anxiety and determination. This revelation provided Clara with a clear opportunity to poison Vivian, adding another layer of complexity to the already tangled web of suspicion. As Finch pieced together the fragments of evidence, he realized the true complexity of the case. The suspects were interconnected, their lives intertwined in a web of secrets, betrayals, and hidden motives. Finch suspected that someone was manipulating the evidence, planting false clues, and framing others to divert suspicion from themselves. The truth, like a slippery eel, seemed to evade his grasp, its elusive nature fueling his determination to unravel the web of deceit and expose the killer. Just as Finch began to feel overwhelmed by the tangled web of suspects and motives, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source. An anonymous tip, delivered through a cryptic phone call, claimed that a witness had seen Arthur Blackwood purchasing the Angel's trumpet just days before Vivian's death. The tip, though shrouded in secrecy, provided a potential breakthrough in the case, a lead that could potentially expose Arthur's guilt. Finch, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose, wasted no time in pursuing this new lead. He traced the call to a public phone booth and, through meticulous detective work, managed to identify the alleged witness, a transient drifter named Benji who frequented the local docks. However, just as Finch was closing in on Benji, the witness vanished without a trace. His sudden disappearance raised suspicions of a deliberate setup, a carefully orchestrated red herring designed to mislead the investigation and cast suspicion on Arthur. Finch, though frustrated by this setback, refused to be deterred. He suspected that someone was pulling the strings from behind the scenes, manipulating the evidence and framing others to protect themselves. As Finch grappled with the disappearance of the anonymous witness, another twist emerged from the depths of the investigation. A suicide note, seemingly written by Vivian Blackwood herself, was discovered tucked away in a drawer in her studio. The note, penned in a shaky hand and filled with despairing words, pointed the finger of blame at Lily, accusing her of driving Vivian to take her own life. The discovery of the suicide note sent shockwaves through the investigation, casting a dark cloud of suspicion over Lily and seemingly confirming her guilt. However, Finch, with his keen eye for detail, noticed subtle inconsistencies in the handwriting and language of the note. The handwriting, though superficially similar to Vivian's, lacked her characteristic flourishes and precision. The language, though seemingly filled with despair, contained phrases and expressions that were uncharacteristic of Vivian's usual vocabulary. These discrepancies raised a red flag in Finch's mind, prompting him to delve deeper into the authenticity of the note. His investigation led him back to Clara Belrose, whose jealousy and resentment towards Vivian had already been established. Finch discovered that Clara possessed a remarkable talent for forgery, her artistic skills extending beyond the canvas and into the realm of deception. He found evidence that Clara had meticulously studied Vivian's handwriting and had practiced replicating her signature and writing style. Her motive for framing Lily became clear: to eliminate her rival's daughter and divert suspicion from herself. Armed with the evidence of Elias Thorne's obsession with Vivian and his access to the Angel's trumpet, Finch confronted the gardener, his voice calm but unwavering. Elias, initially maintaining his innocence, crumbled under the weight of Finch's relentless questioning. Tears streamed down his face as he confessed to poisoning Vivian, claiming he had done it out of love for Lily, believing that her life would be better without her controlling mother. He painted a picture of a desperate act of misguided affection, a sacrifice made in the name of love. However, as Finch analyzed Elias's confession, he noticed inconsistencies in his narrative and a lack of conviction in his voice. Elias's motive, though seemingly plausible, didn't align with the meticulous planning and execution of the crime. Finch suspected that Elias was protecting someone, perhaps even Lily herself, by taking the blame for a crime he didn't commit. Driven by a nagging suspicion that the truth still eluded him, Finch revisited Vivian's studio, his gaze sweeping across the room, searching for any overlooked detail. As he examined the ornate chandelier that hung above Vivian's easel, he noticed a subtle glint of metal that seemed out of place. Closer inspection revealed a tiny camera lens, cleverly concealed within the intricate carvings of the chandelier. Arthur Blackwood, it seemed, had been secretly monitoring his wife's every move. Finch retrieved the camera's memory card and reviewed the footage, his heart pounding with anticipation. The footage revealed a heated argument between Arthur and Vivian on the night of her death. Arthur, his face contorted with rage, demanded that Vivian sign over a large sum of money to cover his gambling debts. When she refused, he threatened to expose their affair with Lily, a revelation that would shatter their family and ruin Vivian's reputation. The footage ended abruptly, leaving Finch with a chilling glimpse into the darkness that had consumed Arthur Blackwood. Armed with the damning evidence from the hidden camera, Finch confronted Arthur, his voice laced with a mixture of anger and disgust. Arthur, stripped of his carefully crafted facade, finally broke down, confessing to the cold-blooded murder of his wife. He admitted to poisoning Vivian's wine with the angel's trumpet extract, driven by greed and a twisted desire to be with Lily. Finch, piecing together the fragments of evidence, realized the full extent of Arthur's depravity. He had not only murdered his wife, but had also manipulated Lily, framed Elias, and orchestrated a series of red herrings to divert suspicion from himself. With the truth finally revealed, Detective Inspector Finch wasted no time in bringing Arthur Blackwood to justice. The arrest was swift and decisive, the handcuffs snapping shut around Arthur's wrists as he uttered a final, desperate denial. "I didn't do it," he hissed, his voice laced with a mixture of fear and defiance. "You have no proof." However, Finch's unwavering gaze and the mountain of evidence against him spoke louder than his empty words. Arthur was taken into custody, his once charming facade replaced by a mask of cold fury. He demanded a lawyer, clinging to the last vestiges of hope that he could somehow escape the consequences of his heinous actions. Lily, upon learning of Arthur's arrest and the full extent of his betrayal, was devastated. The man she had loved and trusted had not only murdered her mother, but had also manipulated her into a twisted relationship built on lies and deceit. The weight of his betrayal and the realization of her own complicity in his web of deception shattered her fragile spirit, leaving her lost in a sea of grief and self-recrimination. The trial of Arthur Blackwood became a media sensation, attracting national attention and intense public scrutiny. The courtroom was packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and those seeking justice for Vivian Blackwood. The prosecution, led by the formidable District Attorney Catherine Yates, presented a meticulously crafted case, laying bare the evidence of Arthur's guilt. They presented the toxicology report confirming the presence of Angel's trumpet extract in Vivian's system, the hidden camera footage capturing Arthur's threats and demands, and the financial records revealing his mounting debts and desperation for money. The defense, led by the shrewd and experienced attorney Richard Harding, argued that the evidence against Arthur was circumstantial and that the prosecution had failed to establish a clear motive for the murder. They attempted to discredit the testimony of Elias Thorne, portraying him as a scorned lover seeking revenge. They also questioned the authenticity of the hidden camera footage, suggesting that it could have been tampered with or manipulated. However, Yates, with her sharp wit and unwavering determination, countered each of the defense's arguments with meticulous precision, dismantling their attempts to create reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury. The most poignant moment of the trial came when Lily Blackwood took the stand. Her youthful face, etched with grief and remorse, captivated the courtroom as she recounted her complex relationship with her mother and her forbidden love for Arthur. She spoke of the constant pressure to live up to her mother's artistic legacy, the resentment that had festered within her, and the desperate yearning for affection that had led her into Arthur's manipulative embrace. Lily admitted to her affair with Arthur, her voice trembling with shame and regret. However, she vehemently denied any involvement in her mother's murder, her tears flowing freely as she expressed her remorse for the pain she had caused Vivian. "I loved my mother, despite our differences," she sobbed. "I would never have hurt her." Her testimony, raw and emotional, painted a picture of a young woman caught in a web of deceit and manipulation, a victim of Arthur's twisted desires. After days of intense testimony and deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict: guilty of first-degree murder. A collective gasp filled the courtroom, as Arthur Blackwood's fate was sealed. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, his dreams of wealth and freedom replaced by the cold reality of a life behind bars. Lily, though relieved that justice had been served, was left with the daunting task of rebuilding her life without her mother and the man she had once loved. Elias Thorne, cleared of all charges, was released from prison, but the weight of his false confession and the knowledge of Vivian's death continued to haunt him. Clara Belrose, exposed as a forger and manipulator, faced public backlash and the demise of her artistic career. The aftermath of the trial left an indelible mark on the lives of those involved. Lily, seeking solace and healing, embarked on a journey of therapy and self-discovery. She sought to understand the complexities of her relationship with her mother and to forgive herself for her role in the tragic events that had unfolded. Elias, haunted by guilt and remorse, dedicated his life to atoning for his mistakes, finding solace in tending to the gardens that had once been his sanctuary. Clara, ostracized by the art community and burdened by the weight of her actions, retreated into a life of solitude, her once vibrant spirit dimmed by the consequences of her choices. The story of Vivian Blackwood's murder served as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of secrets, betrayal, and obsession. It exposed the dark underbelly of a seemingly idyllic community, revealing the hidden desires and destructive impulses that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most perfect lives. The echoes of the tragedy reverberated through Port Blossom, a haunting reminder of the fragility of human relationships and the enduring power of truth.